This series about historic and vibrant downtown Los Angeles is made possible by Bank of America, which believes in downtown's bright future and supports the community that lives and works there. Major support for this series is also provided by the following. Additional support provided by
Well, hello everybody, I'm Huell Howser. Get ready for an adventure that is literally going to be filled with surprises. Surprises because, well, we're starting off by going back in time. We're going to look at the past. Then we're going to come to the present, and then we're going to end up with a mixture, a combination of the past and the present. This is a fascinating story. It all starts right here on the corner of 6th and Hope Street in downtown. Okay, our adventure begins. I'm standing here with Natalie Park from McGuire Properties. We're right here on the corner of 6th and Hope, downtown.
Right.
Now, we're going to do this a little out of sequence, Natalie. I said we were going to go to the past, then the present, then mix the past and the present. Let's start with the present.
Okay.
Presently, if we're standing right here looking at this beautiful big building. What are we looking at? Tell us about this beautiful, big, new, modern building.
You're looking at 550 South Hope. It's a 28-story office tower built in 1991. Our tenant base includes attorneys and architects, financial services. We have some retail on the bottom. We're right next to the library, which is really convenient. And it's an exciting place to be. It's an exciting place to work. There's a lot of activity going on down here. There's always a hustle and a bustle, and That's
it's
right.
a beautiful architectural statement up against the skyline of downtown Los Angeles.
I agree.
Everybody's happy in 550 South Hope.
Yes, they are.
All right, as nice a building as you have, we are not here today to talk about your office building. We are here to go back into the past and talk about what used to be here. And that's why we're going to go across the street and talk with those people standing right out there on your plaza. We're getting ready to go back into the past. Everybody smile, give us a wave. They are representing the past because we've just finished talking about what is here today at 550 South Hope, this beautiful, big, shiny, modern office building. But Irv, before this office building was here, something else was here right at this exact same location. And what was that?
The Church of the Open Door, from 1915 on until 1985, with a 4,000-seat auditorium and two big towers on each side, which was the Bible Institute of Los Angeles.
It was a big church.
A big church,
Okay,
yes.
now how did this church come about?
It started, Lyman Stewart from Union Oil was
President of Union Oil.
President of Union Oil had the vision, and he wanted to build a Bible Institute, a presence in Los Angeles. He called a man by the name of R.A. Torrey, who was at Moody Bible Institute, a great visionary, and he said, I will only come to take over Biola if you'll build a church. 86 members. They built a 4,000-seat auditorium, and so they were quite visionary.
So on this location was the Church of the Open Door and Biola University.
Yep.
Yes.
They were all here in this one big building.
Yes, we were together.
And what was the idea of the Church of the Open Door? What was that all about? It was Christian, but non-denominational.
Non-denominational, very simple expression of biblical Christianity. Just the main message, which we would emphasize.
Wasn't it big in mission work as well?
Still is today, huge in mission work. And that was, see, Biola, the kids would be equipped Monday through Friday, and then on Sunday they would be a part of the church. They would learn their skill to them.
So it was one-stop shopping. They would go to school in the part of the building that was Biola University.
Oh, you bet.
And then on Sunday mornings they would go to church in the big sanctuary.
A great concept. It made sure that they didn't get too theoretical.
And it was right here in downtown Los Angeles, and I've seen the old pictures of the sanctuary itself. It was a beautiful, big sanctuary.
Oh yes, 3 stories.
And it was popular too. I mean, it was
very
filled.
much, oh, very much so, all of the time. When Dr. McGee was here, he was probably the biggest draw downtown. And it was just incredible. I mean, the people would come, particularly on Thursday nights, for his Bible study. So it was a crowd here.
So its heyday, as far as its downtown location, were the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Then things kind of started to change. Now, you're here because your husband was the last pastor of the Church of the Open Door at its location here on Hope Street.
Correct.
Your name is?
I'm Judy Kokoris.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Tell us about what began to happen in the 60s.
In the 60s, the city started to change. People no longer lived in the downtown area. They had moved out. In order to get down here to church, it meant a ride. A lot of times people would come, and as you look around, there was no place to park. So that was changed. The complexion of the city was changing, and the church, for various reasons, didn't kind of keep up with that change. So they lost a lot of their people. The other interesting thing is, too, in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, Church of the Open Door was the only church of its kind in the Los Angeles area, a Bible-teaching Christian church. In the 60s, many others grew up around it.
Competition.
Competition. So people started going to those. Interestingly enough, people from Church of the Open Door were the ones who started those churches.
All right, now that's the 60s. Then in the 70s and 80s, things really got bad, and
Right.
the Church of the Open Door, the congregation got together and decided to move.
They did. It was a very, very tough decision. We all loved this location, the history that went along with the church. Many tears were shed over this decision to move from downtown Los Angeles.
Can you remember the last sermon that your husband preached in the old sanctuary building here?
I do remember that. The man who preached the very last sermon here was Dr. J. Vernon McGee. And on that last Sunday here, there was an overflow crowd. People were out here in the streets. The auditorium was filled up. Very emotional service. A lot of the former pastors came back. A lot of former members came that day. It was a big celebration. We didn't want to leave, but we knew we needed to leave. And
Well,
so-
it was a bittersweet celebration.
very bittersweet celebration.
Because this building had a lot of memories attached to
A
it.
ton of memories attached to it.
Okay, the Church of the Open Door left here in...
1985.
And what happened to the old church then?
We needed to sell it, of course, and we sold it to Dr. Gene Scott, and his church came in and occupied the church building for about a year.
They had services here.
They had services
Dr. Gene Scott, who was not connected with the Church of the Open Door, he had his own church.
He had his own church, right.
Okay, then what happened? Because the story just keeps going on.
Well, there were some troubles with the finances, and so he vacated the property. And not long after that was the Whittier earthquake, and it actually did so much damage to the building that the building was condemned and could not be occupied.
So the building was condemned
Correct.
and was torn down.
Was torn down, yeah. And I was here on the day the wrecking ball hit the building.
Oh, gosh.
And that was a very emotional time for me to see that happen.
Even when you left the church in 1985, when the church left here, you never really thought the building itself would ever be torn down.
That was not what we thought. We knew we had to sell it. We thought maybe somebody would come in and restore it, use it for another purpose, but it became evident that it had to be torn down because it couldn't be occupied.
Torn down in 1986.
86.
And that, for all practical purposes, would appear to be the end of our story.
It would.
And that is the end of the past.
Correct.
And we've heard about the present with this building on it. But now we go into the segment of our adventure that combines the past with the present. And now's when things really get interesting. Our group just keeps getting bigger because now we have combined the present with the past. And this part of the story is so interesting, Natalie. Tell us what happened in the next chapter of 550 South Hope.
Well, when the church was torn down, and basically they were going to build this office building, the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Los Angeles wanted a tribute to the church. And so that was part of the development agreement for the building of this building.
So I guess, well, this was a historic landmark building, wasn't it?
It had not been officially declared, but it was a historic landmark in the city of Los Angeles.
And so the CRA decided that if the church was going to be torn down and this new building built up, that there needed to be something here to commemorate the fact that the Church of the Open Door had been here for so many years and played such a prominent role in the history of this city, right?
Correct, yeah.
Were the people of the church, they must have been excited that there was going to be some kind of commemoration
We
down
were
here.
very excited that they were going to put something on this spot because the church is still heard about around the world even today on the radio. So a lot of people show up down here and want to know what happened to the church, and there's something for them to see and to remember the church.
Boy, is there ever something. And now, and listen, I've lived here in Los Angeles for years. I've traveled up and down these streets for many years. This is the first time I've ever seen this. It's kind of hidden. It's kind of obscure, isn't it, Natalie?
Yes.
That's the understatement. That's all you needed to say, yes. Here it is, right here. Let's follow the yellow brick road. Here it is. Come on, everybody. Here is this sidewalk with these, it looks like brass inlays. And then tilt up here, Cameron. Here is this door, and it's open. The open door. And look right here, right before you go in the open door, we have all of the pastors listed from the very beginning back in 1915 all the way down through Gene Scott. Now, Gene Scott's name is not supposed to be there. He was not a pastor of the Church of the Open Door.
That's correct. He occupied the building, but he was never an official pastor of Church of the Open Door.
How did this happen?
Maybe a little bit of politicking.
But we don't know.
We
But
don't know for sure.
It's there,
It's
forever
there.
engraved
It's
in
forever.
stone.
It is. It is.
Now, Jim, you work here for the building, at the building. What do people come here and look
Yes,
for
we
this?
have groups of people come in all the time, as well as kids on field trips. They come in, view the video, ask about the history of it, several different, even on weekends, Saturday, Sunday, they show up and we just open the door for them.
Now, this is open to the public.
Correct.
This is open every day to
Yes.
the public, for people just to wander in.
Yeah, they wander in, they watch the video, they check out all the names on it, they ask about the history of it.
And I'm sure there are people who wander in who don't have a clue what this is. They
Yes.
just follow the yellow brick road down
Yeah.
into the,
That's
into
correct.
the open door. Do you know enough to kind of give them, have you learned enough over the years to kind of give them the historical spiel?
I'd show them the video, and the video shows all about the site and the city and everything about it. So
There's a video inside that talks about the history of downtown LA.
correct.
All right, we've talked about what's in there. Let's all go in there. I don't know whether there's room for all of us to get in there or not. And I'm taking off my sunglasses because it's kind of dark in here. But this is it. We are inside this little echoey room with this beautiful dome up overhead. But the problem is, Natalie, nobody knows for sure what any of this means, do we?
I think some of it got lost in history over time because of the change in ownership and so on. There's lots of symbols. The artist created lots of symbols to represent the church in a very proper, respectful way.
Right.
And basically timeless.
Right. So it's kind of, how would you describe what this leaves you with when you come in here?
Well, I think one thing that struck me first was the globe on the floor.
This is the earth right
That's the earth. And one of the things Church of the Open Door was known for was its global outreach.
So it does tie in.
So it does
directly.
tie in, yes.
And then we have over here, how do we start this thing, Jim? Just push it?
Yeah, hold the button.
Okay, there's a video going on over here. Is that in long enough?
Yeah, let's give it a second.
That talks about the history of downtown Los Angeles. So it's kind of a all-inclusive, but not very, you have to really know what you're looking for, don't you?
You really do.
So when you come in here, you see, okay, it's beginning to start right here. A visual impression of the history and cultural growth of downtown Los Angeles and this site, 550 South Hope Street. And of course, while we're shooting it, wait a minute, there's the universe. Look at this, Cameron. Boy, we're starting way back in time. That's the way, that's God created this whole area here. But it moves into more recent times with the early, with the 1800s and the 1900s. And this is just a place where I guess do people come in here, you're here, you see this, do people come in here and sit
Yes.
and kind of meditate?
Yeah, they come in, they sit down, they watch the video all the time.
But even if you didn't want to watch the video, it's kind of a quiet, reflective
Yeah.
kind of a place.
Yes, yeah, they just come in and relax all the time. It's cool, and yeah, we have people just, we see them all the time coming in, sitting down.
Do they look surprised at what's in the door? I mean, I really had never seen this before.
They are until they watch the video, and the video is very informational. So after they see that, and then they come back with other people.
Yeah. We are leaving the little room, but there's more because there's a whole art installation here around the building, isn't there, Natalie?
Yes, there is. Lots of symbols, or not lots, several symbols.
Okay, now here's the first one right here, right out on the sidewalk, but we don't know for sure what this symbol means.
That's right. Unfortunately, that information's been lost over the years.
Fell
So
through the cracks.
fell through the cracks, and
Now
I'm going to be finding out what this does mean.
Yeah, because look, here's more, Cameron. We're looking right up here. Now, Jim, come over here a minute, because when people come up and ask you what all this means, what do you tell them about this blue line?
This is the blue pool, and that was the sundial up there. But I mean, to be honest, I don't know the history, what they had in mind on it. I wouldn't want to say something incorrect on it.
You don't want to get the artist mad at you.
Yes.
But the artist has kind of dropped off the scene.
Yeah.
We don't even know where she is, do we?
No, we don't. She used to come in and visit and have tours here, but we haven't seen her in years.
In years, so come on. Don't you all kind of wonder what all this means?
I wonder, yes.
Do you wonder what it means?
I do. Makes no sense to me, but
Do you wonder what it means?
Oh yes, now that I'm here, I really wonder.
Do you wonder what?
Absolutely.
Everybody wonders what this means. So we're going to take some action, aren't we, Natalie?
Yes, we are. After this interview, I'm going to basically look for
the artist.
the artist, yeah.
And try to come up with some explanation that we can put in the form of a plaque or something on the wall so
Yeah.
that when people come by here, they'll know what they're looking.
Right, that's a
For.
great idea.
Yeah, because so far, there's nothing written here that would let anyone know that this was the site of the Church of the Open Door.
Right, right.
none of this.
None
This
of
is
that.
kind of obscure.
It is. It is.
It's beautiful,
It is.
but it's obscure.
Yeah.
Nobody here knows what any of this means. We're appreciating it, but we
Right.
don't know what it means.
And I'm sure the artist had something in mind when
Well,
she
of
did
course
it.
she
so
did. Yeah, it's just that we need to get that,
right. Find out what that was.
find out what that was. And that would appear once again to be the end of our journey. But there's still more. We're never going to quit.
Never gonna quit.
There's always more to this story. We have left 550 South Hope. We're now basically we're on Hill Street and 9th. And there's another chapter in this Church of the Open Door story, and that is the Jesus Saves chapter, because for years I knew that building as the Jesus Saves building because of those beautiful big Jesus Saves neon signs on top of the church.
Everybody in LA knew of the church because of those Jesus Save signs. They used to be visible from all of the freeways coming into downtown Los Angeles.
What's the history of those big neon signs?
Those signs were donated or given to the Church of the Open Door and the Bible Institute in the mid-20s sometime.
Really?
Yes.
So they were there from the mid-20s?
Correct.
Okay, the Jesus Saves signs on top of the Church of the Open Door, they were true LA landmarks.
They were.
The Church of the Open Door was torn down, but we need a drum roll here. Build up the excitement. Look over here. The Jesus Saves signs, the original Jesus Saves signs, are still in downtown LA, and there's a story about that as well, because they're on the back part of the old United Artists Theater building, which Dr. Gene Scott used as his church when he left the Church of the Open Door building.
That's right. He wanted to buy the signs from us. There were some issues there with Dr. Scott and Church of the Open Door, and we would not or did not sell them to him. We sold them to what I call a neon graveyard out off the freeway, and after several years, he purchased them.
They sold them
to
to Dr. Gene Scott,
Right.
who put them up here.
Right.
And these signs are the original Jesus Saves signs from the 1920s from Hope Street on top of the Church of the Open Door.
That's right. They are. They are.
How do you feel looking at this?
You know, again, I get emotional when I see things from the old downtown church, and they were really a beacon. A lot of people who stayed at the Bonaventure Hotel used to say they'd look out their windows and see those Jesus Save signs, and they would come to the church as a result.
And it's interesting that even though it's a little convoluted, even though it's not the Church of the Open Door, the signs are still here.
Right.
They're still on top of a building. I'm not sure that they're lit at night. I'm going to have to come down here and check, but they're still putting out the word, the message,
Same message.
and they're still here. This is amazing to see these right here. They're still downtown, the original signs from the 1920s. We have left downtown Los Angeles. We have come out here to Glendora. Our group is all still intact. And Ed, we are here because this is where the next chapter of the Church of the Open Door takes place.
That's right. In 85, 86, they moved up here, bought the hillside campus of Azusa Pacific University. And we've been here since that time, just on the very north end of Glendora in the foothills. Total contrast to downtown.
And we're looking at this. This is the old gymnasium from Azusa Pacific, and that's what you commandeered and made into the new Church of the Open Door.
We've been worshiping inside there. It holds about 500 people. We're just now remodeling it, but that's where we worship, is in the old APU gym.
We've now hiked up the hill to one of the old dormitories from the hillside campus of Azusa Pacific University. Nowadays, it's used for missionary housing and for storage. And the storage, Irv, is what we are here to look at, because this is very interesting how this all ties together. Right back here in the back of the room, we're looking at
One of our stained glass windows which surrounded the top balcony of the Church of the Open Door at 6th and Hope Street.
This is absolutely spectacular. How many of them were there in the original church?
10 or 12. And there's one of them in a church in China.
Oh, you sent one to China.
A missionary wanted it for a church in China, so he's got the other one that's existing.
Wow, this is absolutely beautiful. This is the real thing here.
Oh, yes.
Probably put in the church originally in 1915.
Yes, that would be part of the original construction.
And there's more, because we have boxes full of stuff. Look at this. If you dig around in here, we have, what are we looking at here?
We're looking at sconces that line to the second floor, the second balcony, all around the edge.
So you have boxes full of the original sconces here.
Yes.
And there's more. Look at this. Look at this. You have a whole number of these saved. And how were these used in the old church?
Those were hanging on our front porch. All of these things are going to be, put in somewhere that it designates who we are, where we came from.
So all of this will be used in some way in the new sanctuary.
Yes.
That's being built here in Glendora.
Yes, right.
Okay, we did it. We did what we set out to do. We went back into the past. We came up to the present. We mixed the past with the present. And now here on this beautiful piece of land out in Glendora where you're building the newest sanctuary, you're going to mix the past with the present with the future, because you brought the relics from the old Hope Street Church and you're going to work it into the architecture as well.
Yeah, we take the history seriously. So we're going to do the arches like they did downtown, and we want to let everybody know that we're connected to the downtown church.
What was that architecture? That was a beautiful structure downtown.
I think it's officially called Italiante, but Mediterranean kind of architecture.
Boy, it was a beautiful building and made a statement. And I'm sure this one will too, and continue on.
This one will. It'll be a new expression of it, but we want to connect it for sure.
Well, it's interesting because if you want to, history is very fragile. It drops right through the cracks if you're not careful. But if you go downtown and go to 550 South Hope Street, you can visit the site of the original Church of the Open Door. You can visit that little installation there, which hopefully by the time this program airs, we'll have a little explanation up on the wall inside there to explain to everybody that that was the site of the original church. Or you can come out here to Glendora.
We're here every Sunday. That's what we do.
So come on out. Go to church in this beautiful setting and be a part of the continuation of history. I love stories like this because it really brings history to life, history that is so fragile and can so easily be forgotten. It's obscure downtown. You have to go in that plaza and go underneath the steps to find it, but it's there and it's worth the visit. The original site of the Church of the Open Door, 550 South Hope Street. It's all part of the experience downtown.
This series about historic and vibrant downtown Los Angeles is made possible by Bank of America, which believes in downtown's bright future and supports the community that lives and works there. Major support for this series is also provided by the following. Additional support provided by Special thanks for sponsorship facilitation and production assistance to the Downtown Center Business Improvement District.